we recommend listening to the CW Pod with a glass of Steeple Ridge Bourbon. Grown, distilled, well-rested, and bottled in Erling, Iowa. Now from the Channel Seed Studios, this is the CW Pod, fueled by Steeple Ridge.
Hello. Today's show is much anticipated. It should have happened a month ago, but it's here. Ross Peterson is back.
Why should it have happened a month ago?
Because I just should have you on like every other week.
Now that we could sign up.
And
for
your ass got fired again.
Again. You see my one tweet? I'm like, I feel like Billy Martin. I got fired from the same job twice. A month ago, you wouldn't have. It's interesting, man.
Together. It's not like we haven't seen.
Yeah, but dude, I've been in a weird headspace for a while. And a month ago, and I'm not sure if you noticed it. I felt like you probably did at some point because we kind of touched on it for just a moment when we talked. But dude, I was just. It's been a weird couple of months for me, man.
Yeah, well, you look great.
I appreciate you saying that. Well, again, weird couple of months.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, we'll get into it all.
Yeah, we can do that. Whatever you want to talk about. You want
to take a bottle of bourbon today? Do you need one?
Of course I do.
Steeple Ridge Bourbon?
So let's see what we got here. What are the three that you have? This one looks new to me.
That one's insane.
4-grain sour mash?
Yeah. Oh. You can't have that one.
And it's bottled in bond. Which if
you can't have that one. That's got to stay here.
You offered me one?
You can have this one.
Let's see. You got single. I'm too dumb to know what's what.
Bottle of Steeple Ridge Bourbon.
I feel like that's the one you've given me before.
Yeah, we also have the Iowa Everywhere one, which is it's basically liquid fire.
Liquid fire?
Yeah, it's fantastic.
Cameras here. Yeah. I don't even know how to do this to make it look right.
You know what?
How does Ed Wilson do that thing where it's all backwards?
I don't know what you're talking about.
So anyway,
we are presented by Steeple Ridge Bourbon in the Lonely Oak Distillery. Ross Peterson is in today. One of my favorite humans. It's good to have you back.
I love you, man. Thanks so much. Like a brother, you know that.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's we got a lot to talk about. We got these drones.
Yeah.
we got the drone situation. We're going to talk about life.
Okay.
I need to bounce one thing off of you with college athletics because I was thinking about this is what I was thinking about at 1:00 in the morning. Couldn't sleep. And I was thinking about how we actually had like this cool deal where all this shit kind of started with college athletics when we got on the air.
Yes.
And we've kind of like, because I will have listeners that say to me, specifically me and Bloom, because he's so involved in this. And like, you know me, like I'm the business, like that's what I'm passionate about in sports. We can get a little too inside baseball.
Yeah.
I think like there's a lot of water cooler folks who just want to watch the games. And I completely understand that. But you and me were there when it started, when we had 3 hours to do this on a daily basis. So we kind of had like a front row seat to everything and we just reacted to it constantly. You know what I mean?
Chris, I love it when you say things that like, you just launched an entire idea in my brain with that, dude. You're absolutely right. Remember when we used to talk about Outliers, that Gladwell book?
Yes.
And how a lot of success is about timing and being in the right place, and all of these things that you might perceive in the moment as being disadvantages become advantages. And you just nailed it. Like
I just held my kid back from school.
Did you really?
Well, last year.
Because of the stuff that we learned in that book?
Pretty much. Not necessarily like the sports thing,
but
advantages. It's like, I go, you're right on the edge. I know you could go now, but one, I'm selfish and I want to keep you for another year.
Yeah, see.
And two, it's like, I mean, it can only really help you.
And I did the exact opposite with Audrey and messed up, man. And didn't think about that until like a year ago where I realized I'm going to have one less summer with her. And it crushed me. I was like, oh my gosh, what did I do? She's super smart. They encouraged me to get her going. I forgot all of the lessons that you and I learned.
Gladwell, man. Yeah. That's an all-time book.
But
Outliers.
You and I, having that third hour in that afternoon,
yeah,
and really being able to stretch our legs with 30-minute segments and things like that, a lot like what you're able to do now, where you don't have to quick hit ideas. It doesn't have to be headline, superficial idea, move on. You can really, dude.
I love the freedom that we have here because it used to be our time slot specifically, and we probably didn't do this the way we were necessarily like supposed to all the time.
No.
You're supposed to reset it every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Was it every 15 minutes?
Yep. And then they wanted us basically they didn't care if every hour was a repeat.
Yeah, we just
of
did the same
previous hour,
topics.
which
Remember we had that app that we had to like pull up? And
it's called Topic Pulse.
it's like, they're talking about Kardashian, guys. They're talking about Kanye and Kim.
Literally had these giant TVs in the hallways.
Yes.
And then we had
We're teaching Aiden here.
and there were 50-inch televisions hanging in the hallways, okay? And then as you walk past it, it almost looked like a Tweet Deck. Have you ever used Tweet Deck where it's your multiple
That's
screens?
no longer a thing.
Oh, really? So I'm just trying to think of...
Yeah, but that was huge.
Yeah, for a moment.
Years ago.
Yeah.
I use it religiously.
It basically, all this program
Basically,
was an
Elon went.
aggregator of what are people talking about?
was
What are
called
people
Topic
sharing?
Pulse.
Yeah.
And that guy from New York like trained us, flew in, and like he had that 5-star meal.
Dude, the corporate stuff. And then, like, this is why I love, we should have Justin Miller, because you didn't get to know Justin at all.
Well,
We should have Justin come here, because
I got to know Justin after I left.
Okay,
Because he was Dave Sproul. He was the new Dave Sproul.
That's right. That's
so
right.
he was at Iowa State events.
Wonderful
nice
dude.
young man.
Wonderful dude.
I remember I took him out and I was trying to get him all shit-faced.
Yeah, where
In
was
Boston.
that? In Boston. That's right.
Because he was supposed to do the show with like Ross the next day, and I texted him like, "I'm going to get Justin so shit faced that he can't do your show. That's my plan." And he's too responsible. He's too
Very responsible kid. Very straight
good
arrow
boy.
kid. Very good boy.
He had a good time that night. So we loosened him up a little
What
bit.
I wish Justin was here to kind of verify, and you know this too.
He got fired too, by the way.
What I got really good at was calling the bullshit at the corporate. Like we'd be walking into a meeting, and I would pull somebody aside and go, "Hey, here's my guess. Here's my guess. They're going to tell us that they're doing a nationwide search for the top. They're going to use those words. They're doing a nationwide search for the top talent to fill this position." And I'll be damned if we wouldn't walk in and they would go, "Guys, we got good news.
We've been given the green light.
They've opened up the suitcase. We got the Brinks truck is backing up. We get to do a nationwide search for the top talent." And the 3 people would shoot a look at me like, "Holy cow!"
And then they would hire
I'm getting
me.
good at this game.
Hey, Ross, we're moving you.
We'd get somebody who just got fired from another radio station in town, and you'd be like,
That's it.
"The hell?"
There's literally nobody else.
The best one was when they would bring in a new boss, and they'd hire a new boss, and they would tell us, we're gonna bring this new guy in. And like 3 times in a row, I totally nailed that. Where it was like, all right, this guy's gonna come in and tell us about all the great places he has worked. Right?
I mean, I've come from Birmingham.
He's gonna tell us about all these amazing markets that he's worked at, how he's the reason why they were all successful.
And he got fired from him.
Yeah, and I promise you, he's not going to talk about why he's worked in 43 markets in 9 years. And he's also not going to tell us what his on-air experience is, because here's another secret. Besides Andrew Downs and Van Harden, every other program director I ever had in radio failed at being a radio host.
Really?
Failed.
Man, that's crazy.
All of them.
And you've been there a long time.
And so it was like having it, like if you were a plumber and the dude that was the worst plumber became your boss, you'd be like, "Oh God." And that was always what it was. This dude would come in and they'd be like, "You guys aren't going to believe who we brought in. You're not even going to believe it, man. Billy Smith. We landed him. We got him." And this dude would come in and he would be like, "Man, I worked in Boston. I worked in LA. I worked in Phoenix.
So you're in the prime of your career. Why are you in Market 91?
Why, yeah, you're here with us right now." Yeah. But the question was always like, so you came here from Boston?" "Well, no. After Boston, I actually got moved to Dayton." "Oh, so you came to Des Moines from Dayton?" "Well, no. I actually got shipped to Springfield, Springfield, Ohio." No. Springfield, Montana." I was programming a station in Springfield, Montana, a big one." "No."
But I'm here now.
And guys, I got some great ideas.
Yeah.
And then this is the other telltale sign. "Hey guys, listen, I'm not here to be a disruptor. I'm here to be a part of the team. You guys are kicking butt. You guys are doing everything great right now. So I'm just going to sit back and observe. Don't even look at me as a boss. That was the telltale sign of like a week from now, he's going to be programming your show.
Oh, yeah. And just completely.
You know what you guys should talk about more?
You do less Iowa and Iowa State. We need you to do more Major
NBA.
League Baseball.
We need you more NBA because
I was told that once. I won't say who, but somebody told me they were hyping up Jim Brinson.
Yeah.
Jimmy B. And this isn't an attack on Jim. Like he's fine. Like I like him. I don't have a they were touting him to me. This is before I worked at Kicks, I was like the contributor. I would come in and be like a guest host, and I really had no inspiration to work there at that point in my career. And somebody in that building was like, he is just great on the NBA. Like nobody knows the NBA better than him. And I was like, oh, that's interesting. I mean, he can talk NBA
better than anybody. Than anybody in Des Moines.
I'll never forget one time.
That means you're the fastest third grader.
It was when Ken was in like Vegas working. Remember that? He lived in Vegas and was doing the show from there. And I flipped it on, and it was like right in the heart of like college football season. And Brinson was doing like a women's U.S. Open tennis breakdown with some tennis pro that, like, because Brinson loves tennis. He played tennis. It's why he's in such great shape at his age. And he brought in the tennis pro or whatever from, it was like Urbandale Tennis or whatever. And they were like, well, Serena, well, she's out of it. Well, now we've got all these women that you've never heard of. But meanwhile, Iowa's got Wisconsin on Saturday.
And you and I both, have both, love Ken Miller and have had great respect for Ken over the years. Nothing more than that time he was working with Brinson, because and I think that they still are friends from all I can get. I think Jim even joins Ken on his show.
Oh, really?
Time.
Cool.
I believe so. Don't quote me on that.
Brinson's in like Phoenix or
I'm not. I have no idea.
He's at some retirement.
No
place.
idea.
Yeah.
He's in some retirement community.
The only time I hear from him, he'll just do like a drive-by on my Twitter feed.
I get a tweet every now and again. And I think when I got fired, he sent me a message that was like, man, another good talent gone or something.
He's a good guy.
He is a good man, right?
I'm not shitting on him.
We were so young, and he was just at the end of his career. And you're right about the college football thing. He didn't want to care about college sports.
He's an East Coast guy.
He was here, and it kind of was forced into that, and you can kind of feel that. And to Ken's credit, Ken never once on the air that I know of called him on that. Like, Ken would carry him in some of those conversations, and where he could have just destroyed him and buried him, he never did that. And I know Ken well enough to know that it was always at the tip of his tongue to do it.
You could see it in his eyes.
Yeah. I loved that time working at the radio station when Ken had his office down on the first floor.
Yes,
I remember that. And we were doing the afternoon show, and we had hours to kill where we had the show ready, and we were just sitting there with the rocket built and rumbling. And Ken understood that because he had done that for years. So I'd go sit in his office and have awesome conversations with him. I don't know if
I could do afternoon drive anymore.
No.
Just my body clock. Like, now that I'm out of it. Yeah.
That was what killed us doing it.
Correct.
And how much pressure it puts on the family. Just everything, dude. No.
It was such a stressor, especially when you have a wife that works.
Yep.
A lot of...
It's a stressor when you do... it's a stressor when you're getting home at 7:30. And then in the wintertime, when you're starting your show,
infants.
Oh, dude, when we were 4 to 7, not that I hated it, it was always fun.
When they moved Keith and Andy up was the start of the death of our show.
Yes,
when they were like, "Hey, you guys are now
whatever it was, 2 to 5." No, not even.
We were 3 to 6.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Well,
let's get to the fun stuff. Let's talk about drones.
We're going to talk about drones. I've got this political / sports discussion that I need to run by you, and I also wanted to just talk about life because I do. The plan is here, folks. Everybody keeps asking, is Ross joining Iowa? Ross has always been a part of Iowa Everywhere from the inception of it, even if he was not. Ross, so yeah, and Ross is going to be,
if nothing else, a cheerleader.
Yeah, and Ross is going to be a part of this show. Like a regular guest, and we're working on stuff to have Ross here regularly. So
I've got some ideas.
Yes, we're going to do it. everybody keeps asking, yes. Like we're always going to make, why wouldn't we want a guy like Ross? So
listen,
to answer that question directly.
We can start right here because real estate has obviously become, when we got fired in 2020, we all knew we had to have something else happening because we knew that this day was going to come where we were going to be fired again. That was when we started talking about something like this. Now, it didn't have a name. You had this idea of, I'm going to take what I've been doing with Cyclone Fanatic and I'm going to expand this so that we've got some sort of parachute and landing spot as all of us start to get clipped from the radio station. Our lives were very, very different at that time. I've been through a lot of changes, but I had to do something that was going to be a lot more stable. Real estate became that.
I mean, nothing stable about a startup local media company. There's nothing stable about it. I promise you.
So real estate became that thing, and real estate became an absolute godsend. And again, man, God has a plan, and he's got a way of forcing you into that plan when you don't want to do it. And I really do believe that focusing on real estate and being able to have some time to really kind of recenter myself, and I got a lot of opportunities that have been presenting themselves, which is really cool. And I think that it was all meant to be exactly the way it has shaken out. So I've been through some weird, like I said at the very beginning, dude, depression and anxiety and all sorts of stuff as a single parent going through the holidays with no steady income, real estate market sucking for a while there.
Is it coming back?
It is.
It feels like it. That's what all my friends are.
Dude, big time. Good. Something happened. I don't know if it's.
Was it the election?
I think that you got the election, you got through the holidays.
Also, like the thing
interest rates aren't coming down, and people, I think, were kept waiting for that to happen, and now they're realizing they are where they're, just under 7 or right around 7.
And people, especially in this market, like there's just not enough like houses, right? Like
there actually are more houses on the market right now than buyers.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess my point is more people are moving here. Like that's not going to stop.
That's true too.
Like I go back home and it's just like, for these young people that want, if you're not in ag back home, it's like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Like there's just, I would guess that 70% of the people in my hometown, like either the husband or the wife works in ag. And if you don't do that, and that's just one example, but
listen, I would say, Chris, there is a weird crossover that's happening. You're absolutely right. And you have more people in that category that you're describing than the category I'm about to describe. More people are in that category of living in rural communities, probably needing to move to an urban environment for jobs and stores and just all the other commodities. There also is this section of the world that has been living in that urban environment, was working in some sort of office, and now has worked themselves into a position where they work from home and they can do that from anywhere in the world.
Yeah.
And they're desiring that spot out in the country that's 11 acres and
I can't afford it, but I'd love it.
If you could, I got some
certainly can
got
around
some
here.
lenders I'd like you to talk to because I got to play. No. There are some people that are looking to move out of those environments because again, you raise your hand, and I promise a lot of your listeners, because I know who you're talking to here, are doing that same thing. They're like, yeah, that's what I want to do.
Did I ever tell you about my mom and dad have a condo down at the Lake of the
Ozarks? I knew that.
And so Osage Beach, Camdenton, like there's all these like little towns that make up the Lake of the Ozarks. COVID hits, and what you're talking about happens where all these people start working from home, and like thousands of people just sold their houses in Kansas City and St. Louis and moved to the lake. Well, so it totally changes that real estate market.
Yes.
What it also did was they didn't have enough firefighters. The schools weren't big enough. This basically happened overnight, like in the sense of a city.
Yeah.
So the infrastructure in these towns just didn't exist.
You're going to experience that in Bondurant.
Oh, we already are.
Right.
We already are. And now they're doing that grain district or whatever. Have you read about that?
So it's again. If it all happens organically and slowly,
nothing's slow happening over in our
this
parts.
entire area from where we sit right now.
Yeah, like our deal is they did something right before we moved there where they estimated like the growth, and they could not have been more wrong.
Underestimated that estimation.
So like every 2 years we're building a new school.
Yeah.
And you have to have it. Like the problem is we don't have any businesses in town for like taxes, so it all comes onto us, which it is what it is. Our home value's also doubled since I've moved there. So I don't really have any right to complain. But anyways, man, where did we get off on
I don't
this?
know.
Well, I honestly, like,
I told you my brain, when I walked in, I said my brain's a scattered mess.
I feel you.
I like this.
You know what I did last week?
What'd you do?
Got my colors analyzed with my wife. You ever heard of that?
I went to the rodeo.
Nice.
You got your colors analyzed?
This is what she wanted for Christmas. Have you ever even heard of this?
It's a big deal for a lot of people.
Well,
Can
a
I
lot of my TV friends
I have a
have done
guess
this.
in my head of what it is. Where like they look at your complexion and like your face.
So
and
there's
then
this woman.
tell you what colors you're supposed to
I
wear.
actually thought about having her on a show because I think it's really interesting. I think our people would be like blown away by it, like I was. So, yes, like she claims it was science, and I'm not gonna.
Yeah.
I knew that you were gonna be a dick about it.
I'm not being a dick. I just said yes. I agree.
So she sits you down and she's got like these swaths of like hundreds of colors, and she explains to you,
like a hardware store.
yeah, basically
Okay.
they're like scarves. And she puts them all on you, and like she'll look at this one and then this one, and like there's a dark color. There's like a, what did she call it? Like a warm and a cold. And there's 4 different like palettes, and this goes on for like an hour, where she's breaking it down. So, anyways, you get like your color, and then she ranks like what colors make you look youngest and most vibrant, and all this stuff. This is where I found it was interesting, and I actually. I fact checked her here. In Hollywood, if they want you to be like a bad guy, they will put you on the opposite end of your color spectrum to make you look.
Oh, really?
Like in The Office, Dwight Schrute is constantly dressed in colors that are supposed to make him less appealing.
He does wear a lot of bland browns and things like that. But I guess I'm not challenging it yet. But doesn't everybody look bland when they wear a button-down short
Not if you're in autumn.
shirt? You show me a photo of a dude that wears one of Dwight Schrute's shirts and looks good doing it.
It's like those Facebook videos I always send you, Aiden. I'll have to start sending those to you. This guy is
now,
just
I do
hilarious.
kind of. I'm not saying that this isn't.
Now I'm a winter.
Imagine that. I'm not saying that it's nonsense. I'm not saying that at all. I do believe that certain colors look better on certain people. I very specifically, when I worked at Wells Fargo, for some reason, there's a couple of examples that are coming to my head right now of when I worked at Wells Fargo. One of them was, we had this guy that was a trainer. He was kind of a bigger fella, but he always wore really bright colors. And I've never been a fashion guy, if you can't tell.
I think you look great.
I feel good today.
Yeah, you look really good in that lumberjack shirt with the beard.
I remember
Ball
this
cap.
dude wearing the really bright colors, and I'm thinking like, that's smart of this guy. And he then told us one day, like, hey, by the way, I intentionally do this because makes me feel good, makes blah blah. It's like, it works. It literally lifts this guy's spirits and makes him feel better.
They always say if you're going to a job interview, wear red.
Wear red
because it's like a power
color. That's that was Tigers. I mean, that's the
Sunday Reds.
That's the Tiger thing, right?
Yeah.
See, but I think some of that's just bullshit, dude. I
thought you would think that. I thought you would think that.
But I understand that we are so much nature and nurture.
She takes it back, though, when she explains, and this is why I want to have her on. Like, she goes back to this guy who was blind. I'm kidding. He wasn't blind. But no, there's
colorblind.
Yes.
Dude, my other example that I had
goes back into like the 1600s, like when these guys are, and there's like a science to this. Now, I don't necessarily know how it works, but it has to do with, well, if you take red and then you do a drop of blue, that's how all these colors are like categorized. Again, way over my head.
So,
but I'm a winter.
Okay, this is why I say I'm not totally dismissing it. Worked with a girl a lady at Wells Fargo, and she wore
gal.
the same
that's what I always say, because you can't go wrong if you say gal.
Chick.
No, you can't say that.
Can't say chick.
Not anymore.
What do these wenches want us to call them anymore?
2025, man.
Totally. What she actually was a really nice lady, and she was a super achiever. She'd been in the military. She was a badass lady, and she wore basically the same outfit every day. And this was before we knew the Steve Jobs
That's
stuff.
the Steve
This is
Jobs thing.
Yeah. But this was not that. So
Matt Campbell does that.
One day we're in a meeting, and you know how sometimes you get to a meeting and everybody's there before the person that's going to, so everybody's just chit chatting. And the ladies in the room are having a conversation about style or whatever. And I'd never noticed it again. One of the ladies said, man, you seem to kind of wear the same things over and over. She goes, yeah, that's by design. I am colorblind. Like severely colorblind. It limited the things I was able to do in the military. I mean, I'm severely colorblind. But years ago, I wore an outfit and several friends complimented me on it. So I went back to that store and so now whenever somebody compliments me on an outfit, I buy multiples of that outfit. Now, what I took that to mean was there was a mental thing happening with her, right? If I wear these clothes, I'll feel good about it. It was the same thing that the dude had said to us in the training thing. Same thing. I wear these colors because of the way it makes me feel. So I think that there is something about, there's a connection between what your friend is doing and the science of it. And again, I'll kind of use, because I know that
this is like
they're selling something to you there. But
these, it's called House of Colors, and it's spelled COLOUR. It's British. Like this whole thing was adopted like over the pond. Like,
well, that makes it.
And it's like franchise.
That makes it valid. I feel like.
Well, I mean, they're not fat.
They don't do things in England that are. I mean, if it was an American company, I'd go.
The Queen and King of England thing.
They wouldn't allow.
I don't understand.
The King and Queen wouldn't allow the debauchery.
We don't even have time to get into the royal family tonight, but we will at some point. That's another podcast.
Every couple weeks, we should just do this.
We're going to
BS about nonsense.
Wait until we talk after this. This is part of my idea. So we got the drones. Real quick, everybody knows where I'm at on the extraterrestrials. There's actually a new documentary out. I would like to watch it with you.
Yes, I'm down.
It's called The Program. And see if you can't pull this up. There's a trailer for it on YouTube. And
we can't do trailers.
We can't do trailers.
No. That'll get copyrighted.
What?
We're promoting we're telling people to go watch it.
We can
I don't
say
make the rules, man.
We've said bullshit multiple times, but we can't play a trailer for a movie?
I don't understand
Reenact
that.
it for me. Reenact it.
Well, I mean, basically, Rogan had the guy on who's the promoter, or who not the director or the writer of this.
Okay.
And this guy's like, his whole life is studying extraterrestrials. He lives in Washington. He's been like
I think I know the guy you're talking about.
Yeah, Rogan had him on like 3 weeks ago. He had been on multiple times.
Okay.
So this guy has a new documentary out.
The Program.
Yes.
Okay.
And it's about how 5 years ago, the United States government wouldn't even like acknowledge any of this stuff. And now we're having like meetings where, and basically the theory is this is like a trickle down thing. And it's kind of like the theory that the government uses Hollywood to sensitize us to things before it comes to reality.
Absolutely. Yep.
Right. And that's been a theory for 50, 60 years.
Yes.
Like that has always been that they are using Hollywood to get to us.
The CIA does make movies.
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And
songs and all sorts of stuff.
I haven't watched it yet. I'm planning to do it this weekend where I could have some quiet time because I really am interested in this stuff. But anyways, they talked for an hour and a half about these drones in New Jersey and how it's unexplained. You'll like this guy because he's not necessarily like, oh, it's aliens.
Yes.
Like it's not like he's open-minded to, well, it could be our government doing this. They could be trying to send us a message. It could be. The one thing I don't like, what is fascinating about these things to me is that whatever technology it is cannot be picked up via radar. Mm-hmm. Like we cannot track these things unless they're lying to us, which I totally believe is possible.
Yes.
Right. Like
good for you.
And this is where this is where I'm like, as a critical thinker of all of this stuff, Because I got, you know how I pick a topic every offseason.
Okay.
Nuclear war, China, Russia.
Barbecue was your topic one time, remember that?
Yeah. I did barbecue. I did Jesus one year. I've done Pirates.
Okay.
I've done Crazy. I did Indian Chiefs one year. I did Crazy Horse, Geronimo.
I'm trying to think of another one that I remember you did.
Coach Ice. Yeah. I'm going to go see his grave in a couple of weeks, by the way.
Okay.
I can't wait. I'm going to go down to his memorial down it's over by Tombstone, actually. I think I'm going to swing over there and see where Wyatt Earp roamed the streets as well.
Why not?
So the theory here, I guess, is, in my mind, like, I don't necessarily... You got to read the book Area 51, by the way, by Annie Jacobson.
Okay.
She wrote Nuclear War. Did I tell you about Nuclear War?
Don't think so.
Change your life. The theory that I have here is, like, I don't necessarily think that these are Martians spying on us.
Okay.
But it's
smart.
But it could be, where is this technology coming from where we cannot trace these things?
Yeah.
We can trace they can do, Ross, they'll hack into your phone right now, right? Like, they know what you're doing in your bedroom. These people know everything that's going on. In what world can the United States of America government and the CIA not know what the fuck is going on in New Jersey with these drones? So, like, I think they're lying.
Yes.
But I also think that if they're not, it has to be aliens.
Okay.
Because it ain't China.
It ain't aliens. And I can convince you of that with a couple of simple things, I think. Okay. First of all, they are lying to you. When they say they can't track, remember, dude, there's so many examples of this. Remember the sub that imploded?
Yeah.
It was going down to see the Titanic. It imploded.
Dude, one of the most fascinating cultural events.
We were watching that, and then it turned out that the government knew exactly when it happened because they heard it implode in the middle of the ocean. Did you know that, right?
Yes, that came out months after.
Weeks later. Yes,
and we were all
sorts of speculation and, oh my gosh, what happened, and are they really alive? I mean, it's crazy, nonsensical.
Were you obsessed with that story as much as I was?
Not kinda. I mean, dude, you know me. I get more obsessed with, like, the reaction to stuff.
Yeah.
It was fascinating to me how people were like, oh, this is what you get, play stupid games, win stupid prizes. A lot like when this healthcare CEO was murdered, and people were like, yeah, I'm glad this dude's dead. Why? Because he's rich. Yeah. And I mean, there's other things with the healthcare CEO, but
that's a deep talk.
But the implode, like, with that, I'm always fascinated by the reaction and how people are processing this stuff.
Yeah, well, don't be an idiot and go into the ocean.
So, dude, listen, if it were aliens, these drones would not have lights on them.
Well, I agree with you.
They wouldn't be, yeah. I mean, they wouldn't be following FFA regulations.
How do we explain, though, a lot of this stuff that in this program? Like, how do we explain the technology in which the hovering, we can't hear engines, right? Like, it's these things that they don't move laterally, they can just bounce up and down. Like, it is not of this world that we know of.
And there you go. So what it seems to me is that the U.S. government, or maybe if it was a foreign government, I think there'd be more of a panic.
I think we'd have shot them down.
And you'd see more of a military reaction to it. So
like, I think that fucking balloon that China sent over. Why didn't we shoot that thing down?
So I think is happening here, Chris, is that we are testing some sort of technology, some sort of unmanned technology that's using a new propulsion system
that we probably found on space aircraft at some point.
I mean, that's up for debate and conversation, right? I do think when they tell us we're not able to track these things, what happened there was people started to recognize these things in the air, and people were like, "What?" And it's getting on TikTok and Twitter and
hysteria.
All that. And then you've got to address it at some point and at least say you've acknowledged it. Now, that I think what I just walked through is the most innocent example. I was going to say naive, which some people that are listening might say that's naive as well. I think that's the most innocent.
Open your eyes, man.
The most nefarious, or let's go first to the middle of the road, which is a theory that I've heard that I think is a really good one, because a lot of, when you get pictures of these drones and they get online, experts can look at these things and say that's this drone, that's this model that can do these things, right? And a lot of people have done that.
Because these are too big for that. Like,
they're just a different type of
they're basically
machine.
like the size of like big cars.
And that's what these experts look at these things and go, "This is a different thing here we're looking at."
Yeah.
One thing that I've heard is that these are able to scan for radioactive materials. Okay, so that's why they're running a grid pattern. Is they are basically scanning this area, looking for some sort of radioactive material, which could mean that they're afraid that some sort of device is loose in that area.
A nuke.
A nuke is, yeah.
Well, and this goes back 50 years, and the whatever UFO sightings, a UFO doesn't mean it's an alien. Like
that's why they changed it, right? Unidentified area, UAP.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So if you go back 100 years,
I hate words.
Go watch the documentary Unacknowledged. I know I made you
remember
watch
that one? Yes.
And that guy's a little loopy, even for me. Like that guy's a little, but it does make some good points in the sense that the overwhelming majority of UAP sightings over the course of a century, the overwhelming majority of them are over like nuclear bases and in the desert and all these places where I would make an argument that the CIA would be milling around, right? Well, what does that mean? Well, if it's not aliens, okay, if it's not from another planet, people are likely seeing shit that our own government is trying to do in the dark, but now we have cell phones
yes, exactly. And that's what I think it is. And again, just like with so many other examples on top of that submarine one, the U.S. government does not come out right away and go, "Hey, you got us. Yeah, we got this thing we've been working on. It's pretty badass. Nobody's seen anything like it before." No, that's not the way this works. That's not the way it works. Is this stuff is deployed in combat. And then all of a sudden it's like, oh yeah, by the way,
we've been working on that.
Yeah, at some point we got to tell you guys, we got this thing. It's called the stealth bomber. It actually, no radar can pick it up because it's not that it moves so fast. It's that we figured out the way radar works and we jam it.
Mm-hmm.
And so when they say things like, "Man, this thing can't be picked up by radar," I believe that. I believe that because a lot of people have access to what that technology of radar is. They have figured out a way to hide from that signal.
Here's the other thing.
And again, so
I think it's going to go to space. Like, I think that's the next area of war. Like, I think if we get nuked, it's going to be like they're going to fucking go over the United States and jam our entire electrical grid and blow something up. Like, and then we'll all kill each other because we're not going to know how to live without the internet. And like, and then we'll start, it's War of the Worlds, except we're just doing it to one another.
No, you have too apocalyptic of a view of it, man. And so I think again, you're falling for that. You're falling for that psychological operation that we're all a victim of.
You got to read
right
this
now.
Area 51 book
Because Chris, the right response and what the conversation we should all be having is, if that happens, how do we rebuild? Not who's the last survivor.
Well, I told my wife after I read this nuclear war book to bring home some shots.
That's a good idea to load up on some medicine.
No. Like, if we ever get nuked, I want to be able to put my family down.
Chris.
No, I'm serious. I don't want to be there and fight that. Do you know how bad that's going to be? Like, how horrible of a death it would be?
Nuclear fallout would be awful. And but
we're not going to survive. We're all going to die anyways.
This is where, again, teeter-totter of our lives, my friend.
She didn't do it, by the way. She rejected it.
Good for her. I didn't think you meant bring home the stuff that's going to kill everybody.
I'm saying like that would be a considerably better way to die than
that. I won't argue with
nuclear.
That I won't argue with. What I would argue,
nuclear winter.
What I would argue,
only the cockroaches survive, buddy. You may think you're going to survive. You're not.
I don't.
Go ahead and fight for water. Fight with your friends and
few
family.
Inevitable things in life, and one of them is death, dude. We're all going to die. We're all going to die. How and when are the conversations, right? That's not. If you are like me, thinking that there is a possibility that some crazy shit is going to go down, and you're right, man. An EMP or something that took down our electrical grid. I don't think
all of our cars would stop working.
Most of our cars would stop working,
unless you're an old school.
I still have a 1999 Ford Ranger.
Yeah, you'd be okay.
It'll be.
Yeah, you'd be fine.
I'm not a prepper, but I do have food rations in my basement. You know what I mean? I've got canned food and stuff like that because I've thought about some of this stuff, like what happens if some of this stuff goes down. But I don't think. Let's go back to the beginning because I don't think I have a different idea what the attack looks like. A nuclear bomb a nuclear missile being fired across, an intercontinental ballistic missile has too many opportunities to be shot down and all this. So the way I see that the attack happening, and I'm afraid of it happening soon because you've got
a lot
the wildfires happening. You've got the election coming up.
You ever read Revelations?
You've had enough. See, we can. It's not Revelations. It's not. We're not. I don't think we're at end times here, and I think that's.
I don't necessarily think we are. All I ask is have you read the book.
You don't think that we're not.
All I ask is have you read the book. You can read into it however you want.
I always think of our buddy Andrew Downs' line when the flat Earth stuff started to really pop off. And
Kyrie was out there.
We were all watching these YouTube videos at work and stuff, and I remember AD had this great line. He looked at me one day and he goes, "I don't. How do you say it? I don't think the world is flat. I'm just less convinced it's round." And I feel like that's what you're doing. That's what you're doing to me here.
Yeah.
I'm not quite convinced. I'm just less convinced.
Well, yeah, I don't know. All the studies show you got to read. You listen to books. I'm going to buy it for you. I'm going to send it to you as a Christmas present. Nuclear War. Okay. So her name is Annie Jacobson. Again, she's been on Rogan. Yeah. She's brilliant.
I like to be clear.
She's like a real journalist. Like she's not like us.
I can read.
I know, but you're going to do, if I buy you the book.
I hate it when people are like, oh yeah, you do audiobooks.
Here's the problem.
I have the ability.
If I buy you the book, it's going to be 2 years until you get it done.
I wouldn't read it.
Okay. So I'm going to buy you the audiobook and send it to you today.
Okay.
And then I'm going to bring you in for a book review.
Okay. Yeah.
Is what we'll do.
Oh, yeah.
So, and this woman, she's done her entire career is report on, nuclear weapons and stuff for she's written, 7 or 8 books. She wrote the Area 51 book. She's real. She's talking to the CIA sources. She's a real journalist. And, I mean, all of these people are convinced. Let's say, Un gets a wild hair up his ass and fires one day, he ain't going to fire one. He's going to fire 100. Or if, let's say he does fire one, when we respond, it ain't going to be one. We're going to send 2,000 his way.
And that's why.
And then the apocalypse starts because then Russia is going to be like, the fuck's going on here? And that would be the issue.
And everybody every world leader has had that same exact conversation and same logical thought. Man, if I hit that button, it all ends.
The other problem, real quick. Can I say this? And then I want to give you all the information and let you respond. She reports in this book, and this is where I don't know if they're being truthful with us, that we only can shoot down 20% of these things. Which is where it's kind of okay, well, if there's 100 of them, I mean, that's bad. You're bad situation developing.
And I agree with that. So the two things that can happen if one of those buttons gets fired is you fire not enough missiles and they get shot down, or you fire enough missiles and we all agree that either way, once you hit that button, everything goes, then the domino effect happens and everybody's gone. So everybody knows that button is not a nuclear weapon. It is a suicide button. All right?
Yes.
Do we have people that would hit that suicide button? We do, and he might be one of them over there, right?
I can't believe we haven't eliminated him.
I don't think that because Chris, I think that they know. I think they know that he's not the threat that we perceive him to be. Okay. I think that the bigger threat is if you had a bunch of people in the United States that could, like those terror cells that they talk about, right? And you wouldn't even have to be terror cells anymore. It could be individuals. You could, and there are reportedly 1,000 or something like that. Dude, if they have a coordinated attack, and you had something happen in the top 50 cities, what if you had it happen in the top 100 metropolitan cities? What if you had it happen in the top 500 metropolitan cities? And on top of a divided country that's not ready for this, tyrannical maniac racist to take over their country again, while you've got half the country burning in California. My dad was a military man, right? He was in Vietnam, and he did 3 tours, and we've had a lot of conversations about. We're in the middle of some sort of operation.
You think like a CIA led one?
Not CIA, but we're in the middle. I don't know.
Illuminati, New World Order.
Something, man. We're in the middle because what you do is you get everybody divided and riled up, and then you drop the thing. 2020 was a great example of it.
You think COVID?
You had everybody divided because of Trump. You had neighbors hating each other. We were just talking to Aiden about how we feel bad for him at 23 that he doesn't remember a time when you had Democrats and Republicans that still went to dinner with each other after they argued, or argued at dinner and then split the bill or picked up the check for each other or whatever it was, right? That was a time all of us that are over 35 or 40 remember.
Yeah, we didn't if you were like a George Bush fan or a Bill Clinton fan, you didn't fly like flags.
It happened. And it's funny.
You just kind of you may put up a yard sign or whatever,
right?
But
That's a good point. And it felt like it happened.
You didn't say fuck Bush or
right,
fuck
exactly.
Clinton.
There was a thing that happened with Clinton. Maybe it started then when the Monica Lewinsky deal happened and the moral high ground that Oren Klaff framework you and I always used to talk about. Republicans decided they were going to take that moral high ground. What's the line? It's really windy on the moral high ground. They ended up now doing a total 180 and supporting a guy like Donald Trump. And I sound like I'm a very conservative
guy. He ain't what you think he is, folks.
But so I think that we're in the middle of that process right now.
So let me ask you this. Back to the drones.
Yeah.
I think
by the way, it's a U.S. military thing.
We both think that, I believe. Because I don't think it's aliens either.
Okay.
I do think that there's got to be something more to all of these sightings, and the fact that the government is now acknowledging these things that these pilots see.
No doubt.
And
about that.
and these pilots are military. They're like, what the hell was that?
Dude, the one guy that was on Rogan who saw the tic tac. Am I saying that right?
Yeah, the tic tac.
The pill shaped one go from 60,000 feet to 1 foot above the ocean.
Yeah.
In a snap. They couldn't even judge how fast the thing moved because it went blip blip.
I do think we have to consider the fact that those might not be worldly.
Yeah, and you and I would agree on that. On that, and
I also would make the point: if we did have that technology, that Navy pilot probably wouldn't know about it.
You're probably right about that, but I think that if we had that technology, I'm hoping, I guess, maybe this is what they're working towards with the drones thing. That's right. What I think is you see those things happening, and then you start to reverse engineer it, and that's what these drones are our first attempts at trying to figure out this. I don't know, dude.
Crazy.
and who knows, Chris, here's the thing. We are obviously just speculating about all this stuff. When the truth comes out, here's the other thing I know. It's going to be much more simple than anything. It is that
Occam's razor.
Occam's razor, man.
John Miller.
It is Occam's razor. Is John talk about Occam's razor a lot?
John loves to throw the Occam's razor.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. John's a fun guy to talk to about stuff.
He is.
In fact, I think it was John was one of the guys I saw on Twitter point out the they're not aliens because they're using lights.
Yeah.
You wouldn't travel interdimensional times and go, oh shit, the FFA thinks that we got a red on the left and blue on the right, boys. Make sure we got this right.
All right, we're in the same spot there. Aiden, tell us about what's going on with our friends at the Iowa Wild, because we got some big nights coming up. What do we have going on?
I mean, the big one, got a new contest.
New contest.
Let's
go.
Alert. Gonna throw it up on the screen here. We want to send you to an Iowa Wild game on January 25th. When the Iowa Wild take on the Texas Stars.
Country night,
post-game concert from Dylan Scott.
Can wear your boots. So you go to iowaeverywhere.com.
Yep. Go to the contest tab.
Perfect.
Go ahead and
tweet
enter
that
your
out as well.
Yep.
Ross has been to more Wild games than anybody I know.
Is this one of those guys where when he sings, you have to hold your boots in the air?
No, that's just Eric Church.
Okay.
It can be whoever you want it to be.
Yeah, you can do that at any country show. I did it at the rodeo the other night. I wondered why people were looking at me funky. I held my hoka up and everybody
I
was
love
like,
the Cinch Rodeo. I wish that I could have gone.
Oh, you didn't go down?
I couldn't. I had the whole death in the family thing. It's been a long.
Sorry.
No, I was gonna go, but it was a week. One of those weeks, and I know you've had them. You've had more of them than me because you're older than me. But when you just look around the room and like you just realize your tribe is like, oh man, a third of us are gone now. You know.
But it changes, man.
But then you're adding others.
Yep.
It's very conflicting as far as what it does to emotions.
Yeah, dude, we can get into the life thing here, okay? Because
do that.
Last 4 or 5 years, man, the only constant in my life has been change. The only thing that I still have my house and my kids. But if you were to go back 5 years and look at my life, I'm a completely different person in 5 years. Had no plan of any of this. Mm-hmm. None of the things were things that I thought would happen, hoped would happen, was planning on happening. Some of it's made my life better. Some of it has, you know what, Chris, I should stop right there, man. It's never fun to lose a parent. It's never fun to go through a divorce. It's never fun to get fired. Every one of those things that I went through, dude, made me a better person. It didn't make me a better person. That's the wrong way to say it too, man.
You evolved.
I found out I had those tools. Yeah. They were always there. So it didn't make me a better person. It helped me realize I was a better person. Mm-hmm. It helped me realize that I had more potential, that I had more in that gas tank. Every one of those things, man. I was thinking about this on the way up here, ironically, man, because my dad is getting ready to go through a medical procedure, and it's a pretty scary one. And I got to thinking about when my mom passed away. My mom did everything for my dad, everything. Mm-hmm. Like most of our relationships if you're in a healthy marriage, most men turn into this lazy sack of nothing because the woman does almost all the stuff.
Especially in the generation before ours.
Right, like and it's no knock.
But I just went through this with my aunt and uncle and all that stuff.
Yes.
And I talked about this in her eulogy. About how I know exactly what you mean because I felt bad in her eulogy. All I was talking about was her and my uncle. Like it wasn't individualized, but that was her. That was her.
So many women they sacrificed their lives for that man. And my mom was one of those women. And my dad, bless his heart, sat in this recliner and watched the Cubs and NASCAR. And my mom,
kind of guy.
My mom did the laundry, and my mom did the dishes, and my mom did the food prep, and my mom did all the grandkid stuff. And Grandpa was there. And when my mom died, we thought, Dad's got a month.
Yeah.
That's got a month.
And that happens a lot.
He's going to be a lump on a log and he'll be dead in a month. And you know what? Same exact thing happened to my dad, that happened to me, that happened to my sister. My brother's always kicked ass.
He's got a great head of hair too.
He's just perfect. I
talked to him about picking on you though.
And what did he say? He's a dork. I'm going to.
You know
pick
what he
on
did?
him?
He started picking on me when I was hanging out with him. He did. He started calling me names. And
all of us, Chris, and I was thinking about my dad today, about how incredibly proud I am to be his son and the amazing man he is. But a big part of that, hey, Connor, a big part of that is the skills that he showed all of us that he actually had when in my mom's passing. Mm-hmm. And that he had the same thing that I did when I went through my divorce. I was that lump on the log. I thought I was a great husband and I was doing all this amazing stuff. And then I got divorced and all of a sudden I had to do all the cleaning and all the laundry and all the food prep. And it was like, oh crap, I gotta do all the things now. And all of a sudden you do it. You go, it was all right there.
it's a different gear.
Mentally, you do that same thing when you go through all this stuff. And again, I say that on the heels of just telling you, I just went through a month of real emotional swings. Because when you're in the middle of the mud, it sucks. It sucks. And I still am. I'm not out of it. I mean, some of this is me projecting, right?
Yeah,
That I know things are going to work out and things are working out. But man, when you're going through those changes like that, you come out better if you have the wherewithal to get through it. It works out, man.
It's got to take it head on.
You always made fun of me for that greatest movie of all time, Shawshank Redemption.
Climbing through the shit.
You go through a...
Never made fun of you. I said that it's like a Garth Brooks concert.
Didn't live up to the hype.
I'm saying that it's a good movie. It's a good concert, but you guys built it up way too much.
You swim through a river of shit and you come out clean on the other side. And
what about, but here's my point.
Yeah.
I once witnessed Tom Cruise lose his co-pilot. Okay?
Yeah.
It's graduation day.
By the way, we all did.
It's graduation day at Top Gun.
Yeah.
And there's a Soviet attack. And they pull him off of the goddamn aircraft carrier. And he's stuck in his own head. He's like Sam Darnold in the playoffs. Okay? He's completely frozen.
Yeah.
And he fights through it and he shoots down the Soviets to save the United States of America from going to war. Why doesn't that ever get brought up like Shawshank Redemption?
Yeah, I mean, that was in the midst of so much heroic shit. I think that it gets lost a little bit. Chris, you forget about what happened with Iron Eagle. You forget about Hulk Hogan.
What about when the government creates Rocky IV?
Rocky IV?
Just to make us hate.
Rocky IV is maybe one of the biggest pieces of propaganda of all time. Hey, here's a fun conspiracy theory for the boys and your listeners. We were talking about the CIA making movies, and I kind of real quickly threw in, and they also make songs. There is a really good documentary series out there about how the CIA actually made the song. Oh my gosh, I'm going to blow this now. Winds of Change. Do you know the song Winds of Change?
So. No.
No, and neither one of the boys are even reacting at all. They don't even know it. It was by a band called Scorpions. Scorpions. They also did Here I Am, Rock You Like a Hurricane. So they were like check me on this.
They're
Aiden.
the free stage at the State Fair.
You know, they were pretty, yeah. They'd have three other bands with them and do the grandstand. They would be the one, it'd be like Scorpion, Styx, and Uriah. Yeah, Uriah Heep. Yeah. They were not known as a ballad singing band, right? Well, then all of a sudden they released this song, and it's really pretty song. It starts with whistling. And then it's basically a song about how they can feel the winds of change in Europe sweeping away Russia and communism and all of this other stuff. And it really did become a cultural.
They released a Russian version of the song as well.
And basically, there's a good theory out right now that the CIA wrote the song.
Wow.
That the CIA said, hey, you guys are going to record this song and we're going to make this an international hit.
Completely manipulate.
Yeah, because we have the ability to just tell people that this is a hit and get it on all the radio stations and have it played
And a band
all the time.
like that is they're easy to
They
infiltrate.
want to be famous so bad.
Like you go to like Springsteen and say, hey, we're going to make you do this. It's a little different conversation. You know, because he's got influence and he can just say things. And the Scorpions.
Okay, so it's funny you'd say Bruce Springsteen. Is it that different?
I don't know.
Couldn't you find a young Bruce Springsteen in the 70s and say, hey, can you write us in? Now, maybe it all backfired because Born in the USA is supposed to be an anti-war anthem. And it actually became, Lee Greenwood style.
What about Lee Greenwood's Canada version of?
Is that not the most incredible thing? Was that real?
Yes. Jeff Kelderman is the most conservative dude I know. And he's the one who pointed it out to me. Kelderman, he tours with Kid Rock and Aaron Lewis, okay? All I want to say is, over the years of doing radio, we were wrong about a lot of things. There's nothing that we were more accurate about than calling out the fraud that's Lee Greenwood the second we did it. God bless.
What was the thing?
Canada.
What would be fun a conversation, Chris? Go back and what were the things we were most wrong about?
Oh.
That's a hard conversation because you try to block those things out.
I only
can tell you
my
all
victories.
the things. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. All the things we were right about. We were just talking about the sports business thing.
Yes.
And that was one that you, to your credit, were way ahead of the curve on so much stuff and brought me along on that ride of like, dude, watch how all these digital players are going to be a major factor immediately. And dude, now that just seems, now a lot of people would look at that and go, well, duh.
Now that's like us looking and being like, man, we got to hang on to cable TV.
Right. Exactly right. I think we were right at the paying players thing, the whole NIL, this entire evolution that's happened with money in college sports. I still try to tell people all the time, don't panic. We're in that scary transition period that we were just talking about, that life is going to do this to you. You're going to evolve and it's going to suck to break out of that skin and become a new person and a new version of yourself, just like is happening in college sports, but it's all going to be worth it in the end because it's going to be done the right way.
This was my question, and we don't have a lot of time to do this, but we can carry this on another time.
All right.
With college football specifically, don't worry about college basketball.
Okay.
I think college football is an entirely different entity going forward.
Agreed.
There's a very real reality that Iowa and Iowa State, because of our population, because of just demographics, are going to be at a significant disadvantage compared to their peers going forward, even with the revenue sharing thing that's going to happen. I know where your mind will initially go here because I've talked to you enough about this, and I know your thoughts on the fact that these they've been living off of taxpayers and tuition and all that stuff for like the fact that the taxpayers and the state actually owns these institutions and then they were not paying people, right? Like,
yeah, that's
you've
got my baseline down. Definitely.
So my challenge would be, and I haven't made my mind up here. I'm looking ahead to like for however many years the regents have paid Northern Iowa to keep athletics open.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Could you make an argument in the next 10 years that Iowa and Iowa State now football are basically professional sports teams and a necessary for our economy, and that the state should be chipping in to keep them competitive?
Oh boy.
Because if they're not, think about what it would do economically. Think about what it would do to tuition. Think about what it would do to these.
I should have done pen and paper during that because you threw a lot of stuff at me there.
You see where I'm going here?
I do see where you're going. All right.
We probably need to do another show where we lead with this because this is such an in-depth thing.
All right. Yes, I would love to do that. So
This will be a preview for next time.
I think you added an element at the very end there that kind of changed what my answer would have been, Chris, because I don't think that.
Remember the phase where they had to be self-sufficient?
Yes,
right?
absolutely. But here's what I want to say. I don't think that these athletic departments matter as much to the state as we as sports fans believe they do. Now, we're talking about millions of dollars coming in. It's a lot of money. I do not believe that the state is in any way responsible for lifting up. You're right. It's a scary new world that we're walking into where there's a lot of money that's being thrown around. The thing that you've got to keep adding into this equation is the thing that we continue to see with this transfer portal. Dude, there's so much talent. There's so many kids that want to play. Mm-hmm. Iowa State just had their best football season of all time, and they're not an elite competitor in the NIL world. They don't have the bajillions of dollars that all these other institutions do that are spending that money and then not getting the return on that investment. And smart people, as you know, Chris, they're going to, in a very short period of time, they're going to start doing that ROI on this. They go, okay, wait a minute. I'm giving how much to win how many games to get how? No, this ain't worth it.
Yeah, I agree with you.
We can get the talent by doing things another way. So I don't think that the states need to get involved yet. What I think needs to happen is a restructuring inside these athletic departments. You need a $20 million, you're having a $20 million shortfall, or you've got a new $20 million expenditure, then you got to do cuts. And some of that might be salary cuts. And man, what a horrible thing. That's like a curse word in athletic departments. Salary cuts? Yeah. We can't do that. Everybody has to make more money all the time. It's not the world so
just think about that.
Do I think that they are?
I'm going to run it by Whitford.
I want to talk. Oh, and how's Jack, by the way?
He's doing okay.
I've seen good reports.
He's doing okay. Yeah, he's doing okay. I talked to him last week.
I want to break.
Really glad that he's fighting and proud of him.
I'm glad to hear that, man. I want to break down what you said there because I think that part of what you said is I'm absolutely on board with. Should they become professional, pseudo-professional sports teams? Yes. Should these guys be under contract? Yes. And then I think that there's all sorts of other things that should happen with it. I've always believed that the extra money in sports should go to offset tuition costs. That when an athletic department starts to become profitable, then that money should go to the university, and the university should use that towards their goal of higher learning. Mm-hmm. And whether that's getting more kids in or making it more affordable to educate kids, that's what it always should have been. I think that these transfer portal windows that we have fly in the face of what they always told us about student athlete. Let these kids transfer at semester's end. There shouldn't be, I mean, the recruiting thing is a whole nother deal, but this ability to announce that you're going to be leaving because of athletics alone, that's a big part of the problem. So now that we've severed this relationship between academics and athletics, let's make them professional sports teams because that's what they are. And we put these guys under contract.
Well, and that's where I said, if they're pros, and let's say in 10 years we have a collective bargaining agreement and it's like there's a commissioner and you can make trades and do whatever. There is a world where I could see this growing. Like, because I'm a Minnesota Vikings fan, right? Mm-hmm. Tough playoff loss last night. And maybe this is skewed because of my position in covering Iowa State athletics for 20 years. Yeah. But, so I'm bitching and moaning about Sam Darnold and whatever. And like most of the Vikings fans responding to me were like having fun with it. Mm-hmm. It's kind of like, we lost again.
Yeah.
When Iowa State loses a game, people want to murder people, like including me. Yeah. Like it's like when Iowa State's good, Chris, you do such a great job. You're such a vital.
Thank you so much for everything
Thank
you do.
When Iowa State loses, ask a fucking question, you soft piece of shit.
Yep.
You know, it's brutal. People can be brutal. The passion level's different. And I'm just thinking if like these are if we're really turning these into pro sports, won't it keep growing in our state? And how big of an impact would that make if they're just gone someday, right? Like, not that they will be, but like if all of a sudden it wouldn't take much for Iowa State. I know this sounds crazy coming off of what they did this year. It wouldn't take much for them to be you and I in football, in the sense of if a super league happens and it's the Big Ten and the SEC and everyone's getting left out, and all of a sudden you are an FCS program. I mean, more or less.
Man, financially, what you're talking about is going to happen. Okay. Unless we have another transition, but I mean the amount of money that is separating these teams each and every year, financially it's going to happen. But again, I'm telling you, the talent pool is getting deeper and deeper and bigger every year.
You're right.
And
players want to play.
They want to play and they want to compete, and there is definitely something for that drive of all of that. Okay, so I wrote down a lot.
Can I make my point for Iowa real quick?
Yeah.
You guys are now where Iowa State has been.
Absolutely right.
Because you're now being asked to dollar for dollar compete with Ohio State and Michigan and Penn State and Oregon and USC.
Dude,
and you don't have it.
Can't. And
you are now where we have been for the last 100 years.
And that gap is going to grow. You're absolutely right.
So this isn't an Iowa State conversation.
No, it's not. This is a college sports conversation. Yeah, it's not an Iowa State conversation at all.
So I'm saying Iowa would get money too. This isn't like keep the Cyclones afloat, please. No.
Man, I had not. You said the trades thing. I wrote that down because this is why we got to do this all on our own. I want to talk to you about the private ownership. Have you talked?
Yes.
Have any of your
Florida
insiders?
State's going to do that.
Are they?
I could see Florida State going independent and like having like a deal with Notre Dame and NBC and Netflix and being owned by some fund.
All right, so I
could see that happening.
Let's project that down onto the local level, all right? And let's say that happens to Iowa State, where they're all of a sudden owned by a private organization of some type. And then fast forward from that day 10 years. Do you think that passion, is that what you were saying? Like if it's a professional organization, it starts to turn into that Vikings thing?
Yeah, I think.
You think so?
Well, maybe. I don't know.
I think there's a different connection to it, Chris. I think.
Yeah, maybe. I don't know the answer to this.
Here's my thought: is that people don't. That we do a lot of pearl clutching, but people don't really care where the money's going.
No.
So what
they care about the laundry.
Yeah, they care about the laundry, man. And they've and not just, and this is going to sound like an Iowa fan picking Iowa State, but this is a college sports conversation. Man, when you have paid money to be a part of something, you're gonna pay for it. You're gonna love that thing.
Mm-hmm.
If your parents paid tuition, they're gonna wear that cardinal and gold or black and gold or whatever it is. There is a different connection to that than, yeah, I picked the Yankees because I liked Don Mattingly.
Mm-hmm.
It's different. It's different, and I think that it could go away, but I just don't see it going away.
But it's also the reason why you've done sound off. You did sound off for all those years. Yeah. Like when you get a caller, how many callers over the years have led with? I've had season tickets for 36 years,
dude.
They always lead with that because it's a source of pride.
Yep.
You know what?
Good point too. That's a good point too. Yeah, it is a source.
Look at how much I have given to this product for half a century.
And college sports, not that professional sports don't have these segments too, but you and I are both in this thing. I think that the Aiden and Connor are both in this too, man. Like there's a community thing with your college sports team. For me, it's familial. It is. I get to go over and watch the games with my dad and my brother and my brother-in-law, and we all bring our families together, and it's a community thing. I honestly could care less what's happening with the scoreboard. Yeah, I want the Hawks to win because it makes everything more fun for the party that I'm there for.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what it is. It's not it's a deeper thing. There's a familial thing. You and your dad connecting over the Cyclones. Your dad's a rotten Cowboys fan. Like, how could you? You can't connect on that.
I hope Dion goes there.
How's your dad, by the way?
It's great.
Okay.
Yeah, he's good. Man.
Okay.
He's good. Well, I want to go and see your dad if we're having a medical thing. I want to go and hang out.
We'll see. See what happens.
Get that done. Ross, I love you, man.
Love you, buddy. Thanks so much.
Couple
for
weeks, I'm gonna get you the Nuclear War book.
Okay.
We're gonna bring you back in for a book review. And
You're gonna have to give me like a month.
Nah, you can just listen to it. Just crank it out. You drive all the time.
I'm on the car.
One house to another.
I'm in the car a lot. Again, blessing.
Go and buy yourself a bottle of Steeple Ridge Bourbon.
Oh, so now I don't even get one. Now I don't even get to do.
No, not you. I was talking to the audience, dummy.
Yeah. You go.
Some people do dry January. I do a whiskey January where no beer. I just start drinking pure whiskey.
Whiskey.
I'm serious.
It's like California sober, where you just smoke weed. It's Southwest Iowa sober, you just drink
I'd
whiskey.
never heard that. California sober is where you just smoke weed.
God's honest truth. Hey, Williams, how have you lost so much weight? Game day Men's Health, and I quit drinking craft beer and I just drink whiskey. Pretty much the truth. Whiskey and water, baby.
Smart.
I love craft beer too much. We would go to El Bait Shop and I would have like 6 every Thursday. You know how many calories I was taking down?
I love craft beer.
Oh,
but
I know you do.
But I did get to that point. Like Bruno always said, what's my favorite beer? It's the one I haven't had.
Yeah.
And that was for a long time. Or the other one was, what's your favorite beer? It's the one in my hand.
Yeah.
Because I just liked them all.
But I do collect these beers, and it's so funny. I do it because of you.
See how he blames everything.
No, it's not bad. It's the stouts. I have so many of these bombers of these special whiskey stouts, but I always feel like I have to wait for like a special occasion to open them. I probably have like 10.
Oh, well, you're going to run out of special occasions, dude. They're good for about 5 years.
Oh, so I better start drinking some of those.
Yeah, better
like the Bourbon Counties and stuff.
Yeah, Bourbon County's got about 5 years, and then
So I've got what I do. The only time I buy those now is when I can buy the like special one, like the macaroons. Here's the vanilla one.
The variants on the Bourbon County.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, some of those are amazing.
Never forget covering a Sweet 16 however many years ago, and I'm at the hotel I'm staying at, had Bourbon County on tap.
That's a rarity. Don't see that very often.
That'll mess you up. Like that's it's not drinking Coors Light on tap, guys.
When we get back, let's talk about this future college sports thing, because I get a lot of
Kick
friends.
that around.
I get a lot of friends that are scared. I mean, scared is probably the wrong word. I do think that there's a lot of people nervous that we're seeing the end of college sports. I don't see it that way. I really don't. I think that there's a lot of money, and there's no doubt about that. It's just going to take a couple of years to find a new normal, and then it will feel sort of, we will do the same thing we did with Aiden. I remember a time, and these guys will do the same thing with their kids. I remember when college sports was college sports. And their kids are going to do the same thing these guys do to us. They're going to look at us and go play your jacks in the street, Grandpa.
Jacks. He is Ross Peterson. My name is Chris Williams. We are in the Channel Seed Studios. Thank you so much for watching on the YouTube, for downloading the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. And my pastor's coming on next week on CW Pod, Ross. That'll be an interesting one.
We didn't talk enough.
Pastor Mike. Well, we'll do that in the next one, and you can respond to Pastor Mike's interview.
Yes. I'd love that.
That'll be great.
Okay.
All right, guys. Have a great rest of your week. Stay warm.